Prisca had always been the darling of her family. Growing up as the youngest of 4 children, she had been doted on by her parents and older siblings. Her father, a respected pastor in their small town of Angeles, had raised his children to be disciplined and God-fearing. Her mother, gentle yet firm, had taught them the importance of humility, hard work, and family unity. Prisca had always been the obedient one, attending church regularly, helping with chores, and excelling in her studies. But as Prisca entered her late teens, something began to change. She started feeling suffocated by the routine of her life. The constant church services, the expectations of her family, and the simple lifestyle of their small town all began to feel stifling. She was drawn to something bigger, something more exciting, something her sheltered upbringing had never shown her. Her restlessness was fueled by her new group of friends, girls she had met at school who lived in the more modern, bustling city nearby. These girls seemed to have it all: fashionable clothes, carefree attitudes, and a life filled with fun and freedom. Unlike Prisca, they weren't tied down by strict parents or religious obligations. They spent their weekends at clubs, went on shopping sprees, and constantly posted glamorous photos on social media. Prisca envied them. She wanted to live like that, free from rules, free from the small town that she felt was holding her back. At first, Prisca's rebellion was subtle. She started spending more time with her new friends after school, coming home later than usual, and avoiding her family's prayers and devotions. When her parents expressed concern, she brushed it off. "I'm just growing up, that's all. You can't keep me sheltered forever," she said dismissively. But soon Prisca's behavior escalated. She began lying to her parents about where she was going, sneaking out of the house at night, and skipping church altogether. Her grades started to slip, and her once close-knit bond with her family began to unravel. Her parents, worried and confused, tried to reach out to her, but Prisca was drifting further and further away. One Friday night, everything changed. Prisca's friends had planned a big night out in the city. They were going to one of the hottest clubs, and for the first time, Prisca was determined to go with them. Her heart raced with excitement as she dressed in an outfit. She had secretly bought a short, tight dress and high heels, nothing like the modest clothes her mother had always made her wear. She applied makeup and styled her hair, feeling like a completely different person as she looked in the mirror. As she slipped out of the house, she sent her friends a text. They were already waiting for her at the corner of the street in a sleek, shiny car, music blaring from the speakers. Prisca hopped in, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. This was the life she had always dreamed of. No parents, no rules, just fun and freedom. The drive to the city was filled with laughter and loud music. Prisca's friends passed around drinks, and although she hesitated at first, she took a sip, then another, until the alcohol made her feel light and carefree. She looked out the window at the flashing lights of the city, feeling like she was finally where she belonged. When they arrived at the club, the bouncer let them in without question. Prisca was mesmerized by the scene inside, the flashing lights, the pounding music, the crowd of people dancing and laughing. She had never experienced anything like it. Her friends led her to the dance floor, and for hours they danced and drank, lost in the euphoria of the night. But as the night wore on, things began to spiral out of control. Prisca's head started to spin from the alcohol, and the once exciting atmosphere of the club began to feel overwhelming. She realized she had lost track of her friends in the crowd and was suddenly alone. Panic set in. She tried to find her way out, but the flashing lights and loud music made everything blur together. Her phone was dead, and she couldn't remember where her friends had parked the car. Finally, after what felt like hours, she stumbled out of the club and into the street. The night air was cold, and Prisca, disoriented and scared, started walking aimlessly. Her feet ached in her high heels, and her dress, which had once made her feel confident and grown up, now felt uncomfortable and out of place. She didn't know how far she had walked when she heard the screech of tires behind her. Prisca turned just in time to see a speeding car veer off the road, heading straight toward her. In an instant, everything slowed down. She tried to move, but her body was frozen in fear. The last thing she saw before everything went black was the blinding headlights. When Prisca woke up, she was in a hospital bed. Her body ached and her head throbbed. As she blinked her eyes open, the blurry figure of her mother came into focus. Beside her, her face etched with worry. "Prisca, thank God you're awake," her mother whispered, her voice trembling. Tears welled up in her eyes as she gently held Prisca's hand. Prisca tried to speak, but her throat was dry. She swallowed and croaked out, "What happened?" "You were in an accident," her mother explained, her voice shaky. "A car hit you when you were walking. The doctor said you're lucky to be alive." The memory of the accident came flooding back, and Prisca's heart sank. She looked around the room and saw her father standing in the corner, his face full of concern and sadness. Her siblings were there too, their eyes filled with relief but also hurt. Prisca felt a wave of guilt wash over her. She had put herself in danger, ignored her family's love and guidance, and now here she was, lying in a hospital bed because of her reckless choices. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry." Her mother squeezed her hand. "It's okay, my child. We're just glad you're alive. We've been praying for you." For the first time in months, Prisca felt the warmth of her family's love enveloping her, and it broke her heart to realize how far she had strayed. She had been searching for freedom and excitement, but all she had found was pain and emptiness. The glamorous life her friends had promised her had led her to a near-death experience, and in that moment, Prisca knew she had to change. The days in the hospital gave Prisca time to reflect on her choices. Her friends never visited her. They didn't even call to check if she was okay. The people she had thought were her new family were nowhere to be found when she needed them the most. But her real family, her parents, her siblings, they had been there the whole time, praying for her, waiting for her to come back. When Prisca was finally discharged from the hospital, her family welcomed her home with open arms. Her father, though stern, was forgiving. He reminded her that no matter how far she had strayed, she was always loved, and there was always a place for her at home. "I'm not mad, Prisca," her father said one evening as they sat on the porch. "I just want you to understand that the world out there isn't as glamorous as it seems. There are dangers, temptations, and heartache, but you don't have to face them alone. We are your family, and we will always be here for you." Prisca nodded, tears in her eyes. She had learned the hard way that the excitement she had been chasing wasn't worth losing the love and safety of her family. From that day on, Prisca made a conscious effort to rebuild the trust she had broken. She started attending church again, spending more time with her family, and focusing on her studies. Her friends from the city faded into the background, and though it was difficult at first, Prisca found peace in the simplicity of her life in Umudike. She began helping her father with community outreach at the church, speaking to young people about her experiences and the dangers of following the wrong crowd. Prisca's story became one of redemption, a tale of how she had been lost but found her way back home, thanks to the love and prayers of her family. In the end, Prisca realized that true freedom wasn't found in clubs or parties. It was found in being true to herself and the values her family had instilled in her. And though the scars from the accident remained as a reminder of her past mistakes, they also served as a symbol of her strength and resilience. Prisca had come home and she was finally at peace.